Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Adeyemo, for being with us today. I have a couple of questions for you. I noticed that the Senator Tester started asking questions about the plan to make sure that we don't default on our debt or the consequences of us defaulting on our debt. And without any question, I've read a number of reports that suggest that the plan that was going to be in place to make sure that we didn't default on our debt was already being thought through, wise planning from my perspective. Here's a question, though, that is not related to sanctions, even though I know that we are talking about sanctions, but it would be impossible for me not to ask a question about the current proposals coming out of the administration as it relates to the ability to investigate and or have access to every transaction in every American's banking accounts or financial accounts based on simply $600 of flow coming through. I know that some proposals have $600, others have $10,000. The challenge is whether it's $600 or $10,000, it captures basically the same number of accounts. Ultimately, if someone pays $800 a month in rent, that's $9,600. With any of the transactions, you break the $10,000 threshold. If you are a senior citizen receiving Social Security with the average Social Security check being around $1,500 or $18,000 a year, your financial institution then has to report to the IRS your account. I don't know what in the world the IRS will do with the information that they receive from these financial institutions. I say this with the backdrop of the last Democrat administration. We saw the IRS not peering into, but investigating nonprofit religious organizations and conservative organizations without expanding their power or their reach. So my concern is that as we see this administration's proposal to give more access to the IRS to peer in and investigate, frankly, $600 of flow in and out of accounts of every American, that essentially captures all Americans' transactions in this country. If you're looking for tax cheats, that is a terrible way of figuring it out. But if you are, in fact, looking at a big government proposal to have the ability to investigate every single transaction of a financial institution of your account, my account, and their accounts, well, this might be a good direction to go in. And I would love to hear why you think it's important for every American's transactions to be made available to the IRS.
Senator, thank you for that question because it gives me an opportunity to make clear the president's policy goal, which is to make sure that wealthy taxpayers who are avoiding taxes in this country pay the taxes that they owe. As you know, the top 1% of income earners in this country fail to pay more than $150 billion in taxes each year. And the reason for this is because they don't earn income the same way that most of your constituents do, which is by getting a W-2, which is information that a teacher or a truck driver or any other employee's company provides to them, but also then provides to the IRS. The reality is wealthy people often earn their income through partnerships or other ways in which they can sell an asset for $2 million, put that $2 million in the bank account, and tell the IRS that they only earned $100,000. What the president seeks to do is level the playing field so that wealthy individuals are forced to pay taxes in the same way that working class people do every day in this country. We're committed to
Thank you for your answer. Let me just follow up on your answer because I do think you raised an important point. And I hope everyone who's watching is listening to what I think is an explanation that requires a little more questions. Let me think of it this way. The top 2% of Americans make about 18 out of every $100, but they pay about 36 out of every $100 in taxation. The 60% of Americans pay no federal taxes. Here's my question. For those 60% that pay no federal taxes, you're literally going to be having the access to investigate their accounts too. So if you're looking to simply find the tax cheats of the top 1% or 2% of Americans, you don't need a threshold of $600. You don't need a threshold of $10,000. Frankly, you don't even need a threshold of $100,000. What this threshold of $600 or $10,000 does, it captures all the information, all the transactions of everyday Americans, not the rich ones, but the ones working paycheck to paycheck should not be forced to have an additional burden on their plates about whether or not the IRS is going to be investigating them, whether or not someone's going to be harassing them. That's not about millionaires and billionaires. That is an actual additional burden on working class Americans. We can do better than that. Thank you for your answer.
Can I just respond quickly?
Senator, Mr. Secretary, of course.
The president's willing to work with Congress on the threshold on ways to protect those who earn W-2s and those who get Social Security payments. Our ultimate goal is making sure that wealthy people who don't pay the taxes that they owe pay those taxes in order to make sure that we have the money to pay for things like infrastructure and child care in this country.
Well, Mr. Adeyemo and Mr. Chairman, I appreciate you extending my time to the witness to respond. I will simply say this, that if you're looking for a way to make sure that people pay their fair share of taxes, I got to tell you that this proposal is not in the same universe of accomplishing that goal. This proposal, whether $600 or $10,000, if you exclude the Social Security recipients at $1,500, you still have the vast majority of Americans working paycheck to paycheck with an additional burden, with another thing to be concerned about from their government. That is not the way the free market should work. It's certainly not the way that we want our country working, that every single American has to be concerned about the IRS. Those three letters are scary enough without giving them more access to our accounts unnecessarily, especially for working class Americans. Thank you very much for your response.